welcome to How to Enjoy Movies, where we don't just review movies, we give you advice to help you enjoy them as much as possible. Today, we'll be reviewing Minions, the much-anticipated spin-off of the Despicable Me franchise that seeks to answer a simple question. Can everyone's favorite side characters carry their own movie, or would being the center of attention cause the gibberish-spouting Twinkies to go from cute to annoying? And the answer is yes, to both. The vibrant visuals, saccharine cuteness, and physical comedy of the two Despicable Me movies are, for the most part, still there, but the uneven pacing and lack of any real gut-busting gags leaves this movie feeling like a decent premise stretched entirely too thin. The movie opens with a delightful history of the Minion race, showing their evolution from single-celled organisms to the slightly more complex beings that they are today as they continually seek out the biggest, baddest boss to serve. The scene begins in vivid 2D animation that becomes more complex and three-dimensional as the minions evolve, and the misfortune the minions bring to each successive master creates some of the biggest laughs of the film. Eventually, after being a pain in one too many asses, the minions are forced to retreat to a secluded cave where they build their own civilization. This masterless existence becomes meaningless, though, until three brave minions volunteer to venture out into the world once again to find a new boss. They find this boss in Scarlet Overkill, voiced by Sandra Bullock, who sends the minions to England to steal the Queen's crown. This sets off a chain of events that loosely stick together to form the movie's plot. Each event almost seems like its own 3 to 5 minute sketch, rather than a single cohesive story. Forming the connective tissue between these bits are musical interludes, which seem haphazard and lazy, almost as though the writer of the movie just wrote, "Insert song from the 60s here," whenever he didn't know how to get from one scene to the next. The voice acting in this movie is fine, which is disappointing considering the talent involved. With such stars as Michael Keaton and Sandra Bullock, it's a shame that the movie offers little in the way of memorable characters. The exception to this being Jon Hamm, who gives a standout performance as Herb, Scarlett's husband, and provides some of the movie's only dialogue-based laughs. Speaking of laughs, there are some to be had here, but none that reach the same levels of hilarity that Despicable Me and its sequel were able to. Like I said, Jon Hamm is the exception to an otherwise mediocre cast, and very few of the jokes said by anyone other than him land. The jokes that do hit are mostly visual gags, which makes sense given that the three main characters don't speak English. There's frequently some fun thing going on in the background of a shot, and these jokes become a fun distraction during the segments of the movie that otherwise don't work very well. Kids will definitely enjoy this movie, especially the minion Bob, who was frequently met with a chorus of awes during my showing, but adults may have a harder time getting into it, as it lacks both the heart and the humor found in the Despicable Me movies. So, if you're going to see Minions, here are a few tips to get the most enjoyment out of it. 1. Treat the movie as a collection of short sketches. Like I said, this movie doesn't really work as a single story, but instead as a collection of 3 to 5 minute bits, all starring these three minions. If you go into this movie with that knowledge, it will make the bits that do work more enjoyable, and the ones that don't will go by quicker if you know there's likely a better one just around the corner. 2. Bring a child. Unlike Despicable Me 1 and 2, Minions is a movie that caters almost exclusively to kids with little to offer for adults. If you have kids, you'll likely get more enjoyment from watching them laugh than you will from the movie itself. If you don't have kids, find one. Doesn't matter how, borrow, steal, or just take your least mature friend, because this movie is definitely more enjoyable in the presence of a kid. 3. Watch the background. This movie is filled with background gags, visual jokes, Easter eggs, and references to the Despicable Me films. Keep an eye out for these during the more boring parts of the movie to gain an extra chuckle or two, or catch a glimpse of a young Dr. Nefario, or even see a director who looks suspiciously like Stanley Kubrick faking the moon landing. And 4. Try to decipher the Minion language. While the Minion tongue may sound like pure gibberish at first, it's actually pretty easy to understand exactly what Kevin, Stuart, and Bob are talking about. The Minions mix their gibberish in with a lot of English, Spanish, and French words, so if you pay close attention, you may be able to get a better idea of what the Minions are saying. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the very first episode of How to Enjoy Movies, and that these tips will help you enjoy Minions as much as possible. If you enjoyed this review and want to see more like it in the future, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and let us know in the comments if you have any other tips to enjoy Minions. Thanks for watching!